Hello everyone and welcome to the channel Lilly Tarot. Today I wanted to talk about numerology and the number 2. Alright, now last month I was having a conversation with someone and they're like, oh, there's going to be lots of 2s in February, right? Or around something around that. Yeah, they were like, oh, February 2nd, there was February 22nd, right? So I think that was like, oh, and the 20th. It was the 20th and the 22nd. So it was the 2nd, the 20th, and the 22nd that she was mentioning to me, right? And I was like, oh yeah, cool, right? And, for me, like, of course, every day is a special day and, we can practice different things based on like the waning of the moon and, the moon cycle and so on. But I wanted to just like, tap into the number 2 and what it means and balance, right? So now I've always done my life path number, right? So I know what my life path number is, and I find that does have some relevance to my life, and whenever I go against that it's usually like it's never good, right? So I'm going to talk about life path number 2 because we're on that 2 topic, and the meaning of 2 in tarot. I just looked that up and I'm like, okay, and 2, what does 2 mean when it comes to love? And then just the regular definition of the number 2. Now what was interesting is that you can have like Bible definitions of numbers, numerology, but I like numerology where it's the meaning from that can derive from before the Bible as well, right? So when you're looking up the meaning of 2, and for me, I want it to not just have a meaning just from one thing. I want it to have a meaning before, like when like just the initial meaning. What did it mean to people, right? Without any kind of control or fear base or anything like that. So the number 2, right, is about balance in relationships, right? And like coming together, right? Coexistence in a sense. But what I did like that I found out is that you're having a 2 experience after having a 1 experience, right? And when they were talking about the 1 experience, the number 1, because you're just going in order, but when you're talking about the number 1, you're talking about being alone, right? Or aloneness. And it doesn't have to be negative. No one, as humans, you don't want to be alone because then you're bored, right? But then you can find things to do. So that's not necessarily and always true. But when you're having that 1 experience, you're having that like alone state where you can just be by yourself, you're doing your thing, you're learning and growing by yourself. So you're understanding that existence of just self, right? And like say, you're born alone, even if you're born a twin, and that can, vary, you're still an individual, right? So you have to like master the 1, the number 1. And if you're a life path number 1, maybe later I'll make a video on all the other numbers and just put them all in a playlist on here, right? As I have different playlists here, so just check that out. But the number 1, you're having that 1 experience, and if you can have a solid, and this just hit me because it didn't say this, but just from all of my years of study, if you can actually sit in something and review the positive, review the negative, but then leave from that existence stronger and whole, right? Then you've mastered that level, right? And we're talking about numerology, but it could go for anything. So you master that 1 level, right, of whatever it is. And what we're talking about is the number 1, right? So like leadership and 1 can also incorporate teamwork as well, okay? And it can also leadership, teamwork, and it also represents like moving together as one, right? And the strength, right? So 1 has different other meanings as well. But if you can have a positive experience from that one state, when you get to the 2 state, it's even healthier and better, right? And it's stronger. So the essence of 2, it's really about coexistence. Okay, that's one of the word. You're coexisting with someone else. And when you coexist with someone else, there has to be mutual understanding for that to work, right? And it also talks about relationships and teamwork. That's what 2 does. Okay, 2 has that strong energy, but also 1 has those same qualities as well. Okay, so 2 also has diplomacy. And I thought that was interesting because when you do the definition of 12, it also refers to perfection of government or rule. 12 is also the production of 3, right? And a combination of 1 and 2, right? So I'll get to that a little bit later, but it just kind of flowed into what I was saying right now, right? So 2 has that power of balance. When I think of 2, I always think of it as balance. It's balancing something out, right? Now, that act of balance is also an act of teamwork, of working together naturally, right? So I like that. All right. Now, also the definition of 2 when it comes to love. Okay. So the definition of 2 when it comes to love is working together, right? And working past any kind of unstable existence or energy. However, you have to have harmony, and that's why you have to master 1 first and master the understanding of 2 even by yourself. It's kind of like balancing out, you think, the left side and the right side of our own existence. So we have all those numbers, you know, within ourselves too. It's like, ooh, realization. We have that number, all these numbers within ourselves. So boom, right? So it's like, I just thought of it. I was like, wait a minute, we have all this number like within ourselves as well, right? So we have to like balance that out within ourselves. And then when we're communicating with any kind of relationship, we have to balance that out and work that out with that person as well. Okay. And in love, they both all have strong associations like teamwork, but coexistence is the strongest meaning when it comes to love. It's the coexistence of the relationship, right? The teamwork can be good. The romance could be good, pulling yourself together, right? Compatibility, right? Cooperation, diplomacy, teamwork, and also companionship, right? But the most powerful for the meaning of 2 when it comes to love is coexistence, if you can kind of blend all of those together. All right. Now let's look at the number 2 when it comes to the tarot card meaning. All right. So 2 is manifesting itself in duality, right? So that's what, whenever you're pulling anything that's 2 in tarot, you have to think about duality and how it will work together, right? And how it balanced off itself. So you're thinking about like day and night, black and white, good and bad, negative and positive. So even within those day and night, there's good and bad in both, right? Or there is a learning experience in both, daytime, nighttime, black, white. And when you think black, white, I think like day and night, just like, you know, the absence of light and then having light, right? good and bad. What is good and bad? Like, what's the situation? What's happening in the storytelling while you're reading the card and the definition of the card itself? Negative and positive, and it just keeps going, right? So in tarot, we're thinking about mainly the duality of it, right? So I thought that was really interesting, okay? And what's like, say, what's the condition, what's going on, what's the storytelling behind it? I like to think of it that way. All right, so let's look at 2 as a life path. So your life path number is like the month you were born, the day you were born, and the year. And you add all of those numbers up, and then if you get like a 2-digit number, you want to break it down to a 1-digit number. And if that ends up being 2, then that's your life path number. Now your life path number is going to show you like, okay, these are my winning qualities, and these are my negative traits, if you will, right? Positive traits, negative traits. What do I need to work on? Right? And even within that life path number, I can also think of like my north node and my south node, right? In my birth chart, what's my north node sign? That's what I need to work towards in my life. What's my south node? My south node is, and it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily negative. The south node is not negative, like a negative trait, but the south node is things that come easy to me that I can do, but there's no growth in this life from it. So I need to do something else in order to grow. And I realized that, okay, 1 + 1 is 2, but it's not really adding up. So I really need to focus on my north node and use my south node talents and qualities, but I really need to go towards the north node. I need to really focus on that. But the south node is like that extra talent in my pocket that I could use whenever I need it, right? So I like to think of the life path number as, okay, what are the great qualities, right? Okay, so for number 2, it's having tolerance, right? They life path number people are very tolerant. So I love that. It's like very much understanding, even if they have their own biases. Like I've known some life path number 2. So we're not perfect. So, you know, even if they have some issues and stuff like that, but they're still tolerant. They still have this great quality to listen to you and understand what you're going through. And they have the ability to be agreeable. Even if they don't agree with you, they can have that ability to be agreeable so that they can learn from you, right? They can learn from you, and they're wise enough to say, hey, I can actually learn from this situation. So they can be agreeable to learn. And it's not like I'm not taking it to a negative level. It's just so that they can understand, because they've realized that when they weren't agreeable or someone else wasn't agreeable in certain situations, depending on the situation, it just didn't help the situation, right? So it's just like, why bother, right? It's kind of like, you know, thinking, should I say something right now or say it later or not at all, right? It depends on the scenario. So where I say tolerant, now they're patient. Now they can be very patient where others cannot. And then they can internalize that patience to be like, is it really a big deal to me, right? Kind of like how an Aries would look at something and be like, that's not my problem. That has nothing to do with me. Where others could see it's not their problem, but they still care, even to their detriment. So it's like a positive thing to have patience, but at the same time, not allowing it to stress you out. So they've mastered that ability. Diplomacy, working things out with people, all of that, right? So they have that. And they can be very charming, okay? Kind of like anyone that's ruled by Venus, right? Like a Taurus, a Libra, something like that. They can be very charming. Now, the negative is that they can be shy, okay? And especially if they're a water sign, they could definitely be more shy, okay? And they can also be oversensitive and caring. And again, if you're a 2 in your water sign, then, you know, that can be hard. But if you really care to work on yourself and you're like truly considered like a wise person, then you can really see when you're being oversensitive and kind of have control of that, right? They can lack ambition, and that's like That's like the thing. So like negative trait, being shy can be not good as well. And I don't really think of it as like a negative thing. Like, I don't think of it as being a negative. I think it depends on the severity of it. And, you know, I think it can be good. Right? So shy, being oversensitive, and feeling not having any desire to do what you came to do. So there's always like a need for a push for anyone that is born a number 2, right? So feeling like lack of ambition. All right, so I think I covered that. Okay, so now looking at 12, because February 22nd, 2022 is going to be a 12 day, but we're breaking it down to a 3. So 12, what can we get from 12? Now, what I found that I like, because I looked at I think the biblical definition was like, and that can be even older than the Bible itself. And I looked into it before, but perfection of government or rule. So we can see what the day brings in that. But 12 is also, we want to break it down to the number 3, okay? But when we think of 12, we think of the two numbers that it combines. It combines 1, okay? And 1 is about independence, right? And that's what I couldn't remember when I was talking about 1, is independence, all right? Or just being very independent. Being an individual. 1 is very much an individual, right? And then it also represents like a new beginning. And it also focuses on our intuition as well, okay? And to have leadership, you kind of have to have a very strong intuition. That's very, very powerful, right? So I feel that, you know, it has to have that, okay? Now, when you're a 1, you think of first in initial, right? So they initiate things, right? So they're a starter, okay? So initiation, being a starter of things, is very much a number 1 energy, okay? But they have to definitely have strong intuition, I feel, okay? And they have to have a go-getter kind of personality. Now, if you are a life path, say number 1, but then you lack, you can think of all the creative things, but then you block yourself by not doing it, then that's something else in your chart. That could be like a rough Saturn placement or something like that, you know, that can definitely be an issue, right? So you have to check your birth chart. So that way you kind of like look at it, and through numerology and through astrology, you can say, oh, okay, I have this, but then I also have this. And then you just have to really be the strongest voice, I guess, in your head and in your life to just kind of get things going for you, right? So the 12 is a combination of 1 and 2. Now, when we look at 2, then, you know, 2 is like, you know, 2 can be very sensitive, right? So when you look up numerology and look up numbers, you won't find all the different words that are kind of, they're similar, but then they're similar, but you wouldn't really think of it. So different books will give you different words, and it will make sense because 2 is all about coexisting. So it's very sensitive, right? It cares about its own feeling and the other person. And it is also very patient, okay? So that combination of 1 and 2 is trying to balance your own independence, and this brings it strongly to relationship, balancing your own independence and your own self, that number 1, and then balancing it with the 2 energy. And if you can do that, then it brings about like a feeling of just security, happiness, and just joy, right? And connectivity. It really equals out to connectivity and living together, right? The whole coexistence, right? So it's very, very strong with the self, our feelings, and feeling connected to each other, right? So that number 12 will still carry that energy on that day. So we're dealing with the energy of 2, we're dealing with the energy of 12, and then we can also say we're dealing with the energy of number 3. Okay, so number 3, when I think of it, I always think of it as divine, right? But I always think of it as divine, but then the strongest one is like things always happen in threes. So we always think of 3 as good, but then if you think of death as something as bad, which we all have some kind of fear of that, and then some people don't, on their best days or whatever. But it's if you think of reincarnation, then 3 is like good things happen in 3 either way, right? So 3, you think of birth, life, and death, okay? And that's like the cycle of life. And I don't usually see that listed a lot when it comes to 3s. And I know it, but you don't see it listed a lot. But that's one of the initial thoughts of 3 and trinities of different like gods and goddesses that ancient tribal people have had, right? So that whole trinity is very powerful because when we think of it as core to the core in human existence, we're thinking of a mother, a father, and the child, right? So it's that in itself on the earthly realm is divine. It's like the creation of life in its initial state, right? It's the man, woman, and creating the child. So you have that. And then when you think of divine, they have, maybe like, there's so many different storytellings of 3 different gods, or, the 3 could mean a personality. It could be mother, father, just representing of what we know on earth as people, right? So we have that 3 energy. You have mind, body, and soul, or mind, body, and spirit connection. You have the 3 different acts in storytelling, right? So you'll have that as well. So 3 is definitely an omen of us in our creativity, right? Whether it's us by ourselves or working together as a team and as a tribe, a society, a couple, creating life, right? So it's creativity, art, whatever you want to think of it. So it's an omen of creativity, of communication, and just being as optimistic as we can, right? And being as curious as we can, so that we can create more things, or just being more creative for ourselves and to better our life. So how can we look at this date? We can look at it from the meaning of 2. We can look at it from the meaning of 12 and the meaning of 3. So it's a combination of all of those. So I always like to think, okay, with all of this, how am I going to use it? How can it be practical to me? So you can look at the meaning of number 2 and where you are in your life right now. You can meditate on that. It could be a word. It could be an affirmation. You could do affirmations on the day. You could do a meditation that resonates with the meaning of number 2, resonates with the meaning of number 3, resonates with the meaning of number 12. Okay. Now I think there was something else. I don't want to miss anything. Let me see. I think I covered it all. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And then of course, if there is an aspect, which I didn't look up yet, but if there's an aspect of a planetary alignment happening on that day, which there's always a main planetary alignment or aspect happening on that day. So let me pop that up. Okay. So if there's like an alignment happening on that day, then you can definitely use it to your benefit. Let's see. Let me just punch that in right now and bring that up. So the 22nd, right? So just skip the 20th. I'm going to go to the 20th too. But say, what is the moon in? On the 22nd for me, the moon is in waning gibbous and it's in Scorpio. Okay? 15 degrees, 15 for 15 minutes, right? That's the high, say the high peak, okay? Now, on that day, there's many different alignments. So definitely look it up and see, okay, what's a positive aspect, right? There's conjunctions that's happening. You could work with a sextile that day. I would ignore the squares, right? So a lot of trines I would look at. Oppositions I would look at. Conjunctions I would look at. MC conjuncts the moon. Okay, so I would look at, you know, ascendant sextiles Neptune. So with this one, it's like a positive aspect, and it's for people who are very intuitive and understanding. So if you know, if you want to work on your intuition, then that would be something that you can focus on that day, right? So it's just me like looking at the calendar and saying, okay, what's cool about that day? Now, Sunday, February 20th, another 2 day, okay? So for that day, right? That one would equal to a 10 day, right? So that would equal out to a 1 day, okay? So I think when I was thinking about the numerology of 1, I was thinking of, there was something that I said, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Independence, right? So even though 1 means being independent, for instance, ants, they work together as 1 when they need to, right? So they work together as 1, and they get things done. They work together in sync together, right? And that's very powerful. So that's the definition of teamwork. So from the experience of experiencing 1, and we're not even talking about 0, but from 1, right? If we can master being independent and thinking of like, say, the self, thinking of being an individual, thinking about being positive within ourselves, that's very much a number 1 experience. And also being very inventive, that's creativity, right? You have to have that within yourself before you can, say, lead a team of people or work in a group setting, okay? It has a lot of strength. It has a lot of creativity as well, okay? It's very determined, and it can be very stubborn. And stubborn, I take it as good as bad, right? If you're stubborn about something and you've worked it out and you know it's right, then you're really steadfast about it, and you're gonna go for it, okay? 1 also represents the sun, okay? So we can think of that in planets. All right. So, and it also represents, of course, if you're born on the 1st of a month, the 10th, the 19th, the 28th, you still would add it up, and you're a 1 if you're just looking on the day that you were born. Okay. So there's many different spiritual ways of using numerology. You can look at it as your life path number, which is adding up the month, the day, and the year. Or you can look at your life path number and say, oh, is the day that I was born, am I a 1? Am I a number 9? Am I an 8 when I add it up, right? So I thought that was very interesting. Okay, so back to February 20th, waning gibbous, and the moon is in Libra, okay? The moon is in Libra, 17 degrees, 56 minutes. That's a long time to meditate for, say, it's 56 minutes, right? That's pretty darn good. And when the moon is waning, it's about letting go of things that you don't want. So you could do a meditation on letting go of things that you don't want, right? I should do this for my yoga channel as well. I don't know. I'll just tell them to watch it over here. I don't know. But where was I? Okay. So for February 20th, which will resonate with the number 10 and resonate with the number 1, right? You can think of, okay, what's a high peak planetary alignments? I love to think of planetary alignments. I'm not going to focus on the squares. The trines are harmonious, okay? So moon trines Saturn, right? Saturn is a good planet to learn how to understand, right? This aspect is going to bring you like a strong need. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. So this one would be, I was like, that's not what I saw. So the moon, where did that go? The moon trine Saturn This one, I love it. Emotional stability, okay? Really good for the home environment as well. And stability and reliability, being helpful, okay? So, and because of the strong Saturn, it will do things the way that it feels it should be done. Because Saturn is very much, I know they say restrictions, but Saturn wants to make sure that whatever you're doing is going to be correct. So if we take it at the highest, like, okay, the highest meaning or the highest intention of each planet, you focus on that and you can just execute, get what you want to get done, right? You just figure it out. You're like, okay, this is my highest intention and I'm going to get that done. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and drop that because, you know, it's something that I love to think about and just say, okay, all right, it's the numerology of the day. And usually the numerology of the day, I think of it as like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, but then I think, okay, how can I use this number and this energy frequency? Because what I was trying to say at the beginning of the video, and I don't know if I said it clear enough, is that because everyone is aware of it, or a large number, I won't say everyone, but if it's, say, like over, I don't know, anytime there's more than 3 people conscious of something, it has an energetic charge and power when there's more than one. And that's always, I know that they have that in the Bible, but it's also a very old thing, an old feeling. So if say 2 people are thinking of the same thing at once, it holds an energy. Imagine if it's 50, 100, 1,000. So I'm sure that there's more than 1,000 people that know or recognize, oh, this date has double numbers, kind of like back in 2007, I think July 7th, 2007, there was like a ton of weddings because there was no other digits there. It was just 2007. So it was just like 0707 2007. So it was like a popular day for everyone to get married. I don't even remember if Venus was in retrograde, and I don't think it was. So let me look on the calendar just for fun. I'm just having fun. Just for fun, looking at the calendar. Okay, so just for fun, I don't think it was a Saturday. There was a last quarter moon, and the moon was in Aries. Okay, so Aries is, you really think of as a fighting kind of energy, but I'm not going to do a search now to see if Venus is retrograde, but I highly doubt it. But you can leave a comment. That'll be a fun comment for someone to leave, right? I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole with that. But so since February 20th equals out to be a 10-day, okay, 10 has to do with destiny, right? 10 has to, of course, deal with independence and individuality, creativity, leadership, right? So it's working on the energy of 1, right? It has that trait, that also self-confidence. 1 has self-confidence and innovation. It has the ability to move itself forward, okay? So let's look at this. I think of wholeness. I think of starting. When I think of 0, I always remember it as I think of it as wholeness, right? And it has no boundaries, right? So there's nothing holding it back. It could shape itself to what it wants to be, right? It's also, it's like to think of it as eternal, right? A continuous flow of energy, if you will. All right. I like to think of it as like as a start. Okay. So it's very strong on the essence of self-leadership in this 10. So on that day, you can really focus on leadership. You can focus on even being spontaneous, because 0 is spontaneous. It's shifting, it's changing, okay? It represents what's unexpected. It could form into anything that it wants to be. And that's what 0 energy has, okay? So it's just, it's like a womb. It's like, you could say it's a void. It's a circle, of course, okay? So it's wholeness. It's unified in itself, okay? So it's like a beginning, right? And then the 1 brings in all the meaning of the 1, and that combines together. When you're bringing in that 1 and that 0 together, it's anything is possible. That's how I like to think of it. Anything is possible, and it could shift and it could change into whatever it wants to be. So that would be what the 20th would mean. And of course, the 20th also, when we break it down, the whole number of the day is 10. But when we think of the day itself as 20, it is 2 plus 1, and it has that meaning as well. And then on the 22nd is a master number, so the 2, it's vibrating very strongly on the meaning of 2, but it's like a powerhouse, so a master number, so it's very strong, the meaning of 2 and balance and unity. So it will be really interesting to see if the 20th shifts and starts something that would be even better for us as a collective, as a group, with everything that's going on, with all of the mandates and the shutdowns. I wonder how that will affect that. And then on a personal level in our own life, how can we incorporate balance in our life, the meaning of number 2, harmony, teamwork even for self. So even if for your family, but also always take it first inwards to self. How can I be a team player for myself? Better relationship for myself? How can I coexist with myself? And especially in light of, I don't want to bring it up, I can't even say that word on YouTube, but last year I had people that just called it quits on their life, right? So, and that recently happened with that model. So it's like, and it's a big subject, right? And I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but when we think of just coexisting with ourselves, that's a lot, right? I was talking to someone earlier today about, just life and how hard it can be if you're in that space. So always, reach out to someone that cares about you. My eyelash is falling. Reach out to someone that cares about you. Find that community, or create that community, right? Because 2, 1, 0, 1, and 2, it's all about creation. Everything in our being is about creation. If something's going on that we don't like, and when we're in the pits of it and we feel it and we feel low and we feel down, of course we feel down. But if we can bring ourselves back up there, then seek the right help that we need, the right connectivity, and we can create that which we want, right? We can create that, right? That's our self initiating that team. My eyelash is falling into my eye. Oh my God. Right? We can initiate that team. And we can get that help that we need. And another thing about 2 that I like is that in numerology, 2 also talks about who you're compatible with. Like what other life path numbers that 2 is compatible with. And I want to say 9. I remember 9. Let me see. And I have to tell you a story about that. I think it was like a life path number. So I think I did like, so if your life path number is 2, and then all of this stuff is like, it all depends to me. Like it just all depends, right, on the person and what their chart is made up of. So I know that 2 is compatible with 9. Let me try and find that.
9.
Okay, so I found it. So 2 is definitely compatible with 9. I don't know why I remember 9. I think I knew someone that was a 9, a friend that was a 9 path. So 2, 9, 6, and 8. Okay, so 2 is compatible with life path numbers that are 6, 8, and 9. So I just want to share that with you guys. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, let me know. And I think that's it. Yeah. So, I'm setting like high intentions for the 20th. On the 20th, that's how you can work that day. So just look at different planetary alignments. We already know the 20th is definitely the day itself is 2 and 0. So you can look, okay, what does 2 mean? What does 0 mean? And then on the 22nd, you have a master number of 22. Okay? They call the number 22 a master number or a master builder. So you can think of 22 on that day as, you know, building yourself or rebuilding yourself, you know, or building yourself up. So you can really internalize it. You know, you can be as creative as you want and say, okay, what can I build for myself within the meaning of 2? Okay? How can I do that within myself and then the people that surround me, right? So we're just like taking it to a real positive level and thinking outside of the box. You don't have to, you know, different cultures will have different meanings for numbers, and you take what resonates with you, and you don't have to do it a way that someone else thinks that you can do it, right? Or you have to do it. So 2 is a master builder, right? It's also a master teacher. So if you resonate with, if your life path is like, hey, I like to teach, I like to learn, and I like to teach, you know, you can definitely use that energy, right? So a lot of the double numbers are thought of as master numbers, and they can interchangeably have the title of they're all master numbers. They could be master builders, master architect, master teacher, whichever one resonates with you. Okay. So yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. And I hope you like this video. And if you like this video, definitely click like. And I will be bringing about more videos like this whenever I feel like, and whenever there's a special kind of numerology day coming up. All right, so I'll see you guys next time. I hope you like this video. I hope I didn't forget anything else to say. And that's it. Peace.